Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. This is day 2 of our campaign of Cities of Venus. Holy crap, dude, we had a good start to this campaign. I have no idea if anyone is listening, but I thought we were going to do some cool stuff tonight. I thought I'm going to start doing this regularly, just do these kind of riffing lives probably once a day, maybe if not every couple days for sure. Let me just see who we've got in the lobby here. All right, Sam just joined. Welcome, Sam. Box to Boards back again. I love it. Oh, this is fantastic. All right, so let me just get my little overlays ready here so I can read any comments anybody has. So those who are following the campaign, Cities of Venus, it's a Kickstarter that we just launched yesterday. I've been so friggin' excited about it. I mean, it's been awesome. It's been exhausting at the same time. Doing campaigns is a grind. Yesterday, I was like responding like crazy to people's questions on the campaign while we were doing a live, which was really tough to juggle. And you definitely have a lot of homework that you're doing even into the evenings with your campaigns. But we're starting to get to the points where we can start releasing stuff, which is really cool. And today we kind of did a couple things on the campaign. One thing we did was anybody that wanted to, and if you're listening, give me a thumbs up if you can even hear me, because I've been having massive audio issues today. We did a podcast where we had Vesuvius Media on the podcast, and the whole thing was basically us miming. You couldn't hear anything, and I had to redub it afterwards, which was excruciating. So give me some kind of indication whether you can hear me or not. A thumbs up or thumbs down if you can hear me. And nobody's talking, so let me just check Instagram for myself, because this is stressing me out. I don't want to talk for like in 2 hours and be in absolute silence here. Let me see. Live. And is it live? Let me see. Audio. It's okay. I got my own audio. I'm good. All right. So we are live. And we got some audio going. So this is what we're going to do is we're going to go through. Oh, thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the things we did on the campaign today. I'm actually going to share the campaign page. On the next page, I did have issues yesterday with the audio not playing, so I might actually have to superimpose it like on half the screen here to go through it. But there's some cool things that happened on the campaign page today that I want to talk about. First and foremost, we extended our 72-hour or extended it to 72 hours that we had. Hey, Adam, the board game enthusiast. Welcome back, brother. So we announced this today. So we had set kind of a day one backer special that if anybody backed us on the first day, first 24 hours, they got this first player mini, which is super cool. This one's actually been painted, so they come basically blank. And you get that for free. And what we found was some of our communications were delayed getting out. We had a big text blast we did. I wake up this morning and there's a message from Send in Blue saying your credits depleted, and so it only went out to like 100 people. So it's kind of frustrating. So, and a lot of people were saying, "Hey, I got in, but I got in like an hour after the cutoff. Can I still get the mini?" So we decided, you know what? We talked to BackerKit. We sent an announcement out. We extended it to 72 hours. So anybody backs in the first 72 hours, even if you've already prepaid for the mini, we will credit you back. If you haven't been paid for the mini, just ignore the mini. We'll just add it to your order for free. We get timestamps from everybody that backs on the campaign, so we know exactly when you backed. First 72 hours, you get this first player mini for free, which is it's super cool. Second thing we did is we announced, and I'll actually go onto the page. So when we do this, I'm going to go onto the next screen. I want you to tell me if you can hear me, please. For the love of God, tell me. Okay, here we go. Ready? I'll go on the next screen. Tell me if you can hear me. Okay. So I'm back again. You can hear me. Nope. Am I moving? Because I've got it on my screen here on my on my phone and it's frozen. Oh, good God. Technology, I love it. There we are. We're back. All right. So the other screen sucks. I can't, for some reason, for the life of me, be able to switch screens. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do the old-fashioned way and superimpose this because there are some cool things I want to show. All right. So why don't we do it this way? I'm going to squeeze this little page down like yonder. All right. We're back. Cool beans. All right. And what I'm going to do is we're going to move it. All right, gonna have to add an overlay here. I'm gonna grab the one from the other screen. I'm gonna be back in like 2 seconds. Hang on. There we go. Okay. And we're gonna stick this over here to the side of my head. Okay. Cool. So this is what we added today. So scroll on the page. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I've been streaming this like crazy, so I'm sure. Oh, Flying Man Games just joined. Welcome. And we'll go through the campaign page in a bit. For those who are watching and don't know about the campaign, I will talk about the Meeple Rouge. Welcome. So basically what we added was, if I scroll all the way down here, so kick tracks, we moved this up. If you guys could do me a favor, if you could smash the kick tracks button, literally, if you check out this page on a daily basis, hit this button. It doesn't matter how many times you hit the button. Kick tracks recognizes every single time the button gets hit. It tracks it as people being interested in the campaign. So over on the Kick Tracks site where people go to see on a regular basis what's kind of hot for the day, they can see the top 10. So 2 days in a row, we've made number 2. Today we're at number 2, number 3, floated kind of back and forth, but we're in the top of the top 10 list. And that's by people just smashing that button on a regular basis. So if you want to do me a solid, smash that button literally for the duration of the campaign. We'll see how long we can stay on the hot list. So we moved that up in our campaign. As I said at the top, I'll scroll up really fast. It's going to take a bit to catch up because graphics take forever to render. Day 1 backers. This now has been extended to 72 hours. So again, anybody that backs in the first 72 hours gets that free mini. And then we added, oh, wait till she catches up. Down here, something I'm really excited about. There's a lot of stuff on our page, I'm not going to lie. That's good. Gets me excited. What do you guys think of the painted minis? My niece painted these minis. So all these minis, like on, you see the painted jobs on the actual website. I keep losing that guy. My niece painted these. She loves doing miniature painting. I know there's a lot of people out there, probably some of the people even in this feed, that love painting miniatures. I suck at it, so I got somebody who knows what they're doing to do it. And she painted them. I think they look super dope. FYI, I can't see your other screen. Thanks, Sam. Can you? So Sam, if you're watching right now, can you see? Oh, is it cut off? Oh, if it's cut off, that's gonna suck too. Oh, it does too. All right. I'm gonna have to cover up my face. Here we go. Here we go. All right. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little mini cam so my face is actually in front of the mini cam because now I'm going to come to this section, which is actually important. Okay, webcam. Copy. I'm going to paste. And then we're going to shrink this guy down. All right, so we're going to do picture in picture. We're doing this live, folks. This is like old school, doing these things live. Okay. I think we can see me and the screen at the same time. Thanks again for your feedback, Sam. I really appreciate it. Okay, so so we added these reveals. So what we're gonna do is starting on Monday. On Tuesday. So every Tuesday, there's something really cool that we're gonna announce about this campaign. It doesn't change the game, but there's some enhancements that we've been working on that we're really, really excited about. And what we want to do was pace them out a bit. They're not stretch goals, right? So we made the most premium game we possibly could out of the gate. And I know I've had at least 3 people say, where's your stretch goals? What's going on? How come there's no stretch goals? I'm not going to play the stretch goal game where we take stuff away and then give it back to you after we hit certain targets. We just gave you the best possible game we could out of the gate. And we recognize that if we didn't fund well on the first day, that was a risk we took. We'd be taking a significant loss. If we funded well, then this thing would go okay, and we'd be able to do all these things that we've already shown you, right? Have printing inside the box, spot UV varnish, thrown in the dice mechs. That's now in every pledge. That wasn't even originally that was going to be an add-on. We just included it all. So the best possible game we can do. But there's some other cool stuff that we're going to announce that's going to be coming out. And quite frankly, that's just to keep the conversation going, right? 28-day campaign. That's why a lot of people do stretch targets, is try to kind of keep the conversation going. Our preference was give a premium game, the most premium we can, and then keep the conversation going, as we go by getting into some interesting stuff. So that was something cool that happened today. We added that. Now I'm going to go to comments, because there's a really cool things we talked about in the comments today. So one thing we had asked our backers was, we have a lot of cards in this deck, and there's a lot of, like event cards. There's a lot of upgrades that we have, so you can upgrade your city. And the number of cards we have is fixed, but we're still doing the artwork for some of them. We have about 60% of them done, and we're just finishing off the rest now. And we have an opportunity to add even more events, variety in, so to speak, and more, upgrade variety into the campaign. So our plan is to actually do that. And we thought, hey, why don't we ask what people think? Give us your opinion. Is there something you think that would be kind of thematically cool? And we had a lot of people respond. So let's go through those together. I think they're kind of cool. So first we're going to go through, what the heck is this here? Okay, there we are. Okay, so we had the announcement we did, the mini. Okay, here we are. So we said, we're going to be adding more events and innovations. Let's talk about the best ideas. So we've got 18 replies, and then I'll go over to the other feed because people kind of broke it up. Some people responded to our day one update. Other people had actually responded to this. So first of all, Reed Muscola from Paranoia Rising. He said maybe armored spacesuits, something to protect the space people. I thought that was a cool idea. We've been kind of toying with this as well. We don't have it yet, but this idea of protecting people from events in this game, hey Vivek, are extremely punishing. You could be doing really well, and I know that if Adam, the board game enthusiast from Tabletop Vibes, if you're still listening, I'm sure you can attest to this. Bad stuff happens, and you might think you got everything planned out perfect, and you think, I'll take a chance. I don't think a card's going to come up that's going to impact that department. That's the one time that card's going to come up, and it's going to completely annihilate that department, and then you're cooked because you have to pull people from other parts of your station. So this idea of having an upgrade card that slides into the deck or into the board. And again, for those who haven't, I think pretty much everybody on here knows about this game, but I'm just going to show it just for kicks in case you don't. So maybe we'll do this. So I'm going to move this webcam up in the front. There we go. And you have these kind of boards where the cards slide in. So the upgrades physically slide into the board. All right, so this one here is like a mining upgrade, and you can roll extra dice and mine more materials. And you have a little peekaboo window that tells you, there's a peekaboo window right there, that basically tells you what the power is. And then, of course, in the little corner here, it has your capacity change. So sometimes your capacity will go down if the power is like really good. The trade-off on that is you're going to be able to fit less people in that department. So this idea of having an upgrade that you can put into a specific department slot that protects that department against events. So we do have one right now where the shields, you can do an innovation upgrade where it protects your shields so you're not eroding your shields every round, because every round you're losing people from your shields. You got to keep maintaining those shields. It doesn't insulate you from events, but it does insulate you from your constant erosion. So we're looking at, I saw this and I thought that was a great idea. You know what, maybe we'll have a card where maybe even for each of the different departments that protect the people in those departments from events. Maybe it doesn't stop erosion, but it stops you from events, which can be extremely punishing. And of course, we'll have to work out the cost of those and so forth, because you don't want to be too overpowered, and that always becomes a risk when you add cards to a game that we've already balanced out, is that some things could become overpowered. All right, now let's go back to this one. Okay, so the next one they said was, someone said a solar flare could be really cool. We have a solar flare right now as an event, and it knocks out, like, I think you lose somebody from your mining department, it hits your shields, and I believe it hits your power station as well. So you're losing people from several departments. So although we already have the solar flare, it did get me thinking that it doesn't mean we couldn't have different types of solar flares, right? So we could have a solar flare that, like we have right now, that knocks out those departments, but maybe we have another solar flare that negates one of your powers for a round, right? So one of the particular round that you have where you've inserted your card that gives you a special power, during the city action phase, maybe you can't use that for this particular round if there's a solar flare. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That was a really good idea. Someone said something like alien encounters or encounters from other planets. This one was interesting. We definitely tried to keep this thematic in the realm of realism, if that makes sense. So we wanted people to imagine, okay, this is like near distant future or near future, right? So you can imagine yourselves, just a couple hundred, maybe your grandkids or great grandkids actually on these cities. So I don't know if aliens would kind of come into play in this particular game, but where they could come into play is like a microbial alien. And there's some science behind that. Anybody that's following, again, Venus, because again, I love cosmology and anything space, they found a compound in the atmosphere of Venus that they've detected that's at certain levels that don't necessarily happen naturally. It could freakishly happen naturally, but chances are it usually doesn't happen naturally. It's usually when there's organic life that creates this particular compound, and they've detected it in the clouds of Venus. So some have theorized, and again, they won't know until they can go there and actually test the clouds, that there could be ancient microbial life that somehow survived and still lives in the clouds, right? Because as we've talked about in the prior lives that we've done, and we've talked about on podcasts and of course in this campaign, that it's very Earth-like in the clouds of Venus, right? The temperature is very similar to what it is on Earth. The pressure is very similar. You have protection from the radiation coming through the clouds because you have cloud cover above you as well. Other than the fact that you got sulfuric acid, which again, there's certain parts of our planet, even if you look at thermal vents in the ocean, a lot of those are very acidic and very hot, and they're still teeming with life. So is it possible there could be some kind of microbial thing as an alien encounter? I think we could probably do something like that. That'd be kind of cool. The next person says, maybe an event that is special invention that benefits players based on their current player mat state. Some players would benefit more than others. I thought this was interesting too. I'd have to figure out how to kind of do that in a way that it's not confusing. I can't speak today. I'm fumbling over my words. The goal in this game is it's what we call deceptively simple, right? So it's very robust in terms of components. It looks very complex when you get to the table. Hey, Torsten, welcome. But once you get playing it, it's actually pretty straightforward on how to play the game. Like, you get it really quick. And that's what, some people have even described it as a gateway game, saying, hey, I could bring non-gamers in and have them play this with me, and they would probably get it pretty quick and be able to enjoy it with us. And that's totally true. So any changes we make, we want to add to the story, we want to add to the game, but we don't want it to be so convoluted that it's confusing. So in a case like this, it's not that it would be, but I just try to have to figure out a way to make that happen. And again, I think the way to do that, quite frankly, is if you have upgrades, certain upgrades are negated for a particular round. I think that would be kind of cool. Or if you have a certain upgrade, that might be cool. If you have a certain upgrade, it causes, say, maybe a circuit breaker surge, and then that's going to impact people in another department. So you're going to lose 2 people over here because you have such and such an upgrade. Or maybe, as I think this out, now I should probably write this down because it's actually starting to come to me now. maybe what you have is you have a you lose 1 VNOT for every upgrade that you have on your station. That would be kind of cool because that'd be very easy to calculate, like super quick without it being too complicated, but they would have that kind of dynamic that's going to hit different people differently. That could be kind of cool. I like that. Asteroid impact, we kind of have that already. We have a lot of events where things go wrong in the station and it's predominantly because something has hit the station or hit that department or taken part of that department out. Satellite crash, that's an interesting one too. And they haven't played the game, so they probably don't know why this could play in our particular theme, but how I could see this actually play in is our current satellite, our Innovate, and I look at this as the International Innovation Station. So you send VNOTs up to the International Innovation Station. Once you get 8 people there, you create innovation. You grab from the innovation market a superpower upgrade for your board. I could see that being, it would be punishing and people would be pissed. But we could do it where if that card comes up, you lose anybody you have in the International Innovation Station that's there. That might be too punishing because that would hurt like real bad. Real bad. But maybe what it could be is there's been something that hits the International Innovation Station and you lose a VNOT from there. That might be less painful. It still stings, but less debilitating. We could try that out. All right, so Herein says, what about something like immigration between cities? If someone has a particularly high amount of air, food, and certain upgrade, then they gain 2 VNOTs from another player because they want to migrate to a better city. Or maybe just losing VNOTs if you haven't maintained enough upgrades or something like that. That's cool. That's cool. Or an event that causes a breakout of system. Okay, let's do the first one first. So moving VNOTs. We do have an upgrade right now. Actually, it's this one right here. I'll put my other cam back on. So we MacGyver it. This guy right here allows you to move 2, and ironically 2 VNOTs during your city action phase throughout your city. Because right now it's a meeple laid, is a meeple played. Right. So once you put your meeple down, it's in that station. They've been trained in engineering for that station. They're not moving. But if you have that card, you do have the ability to say, okay, I've got people in my food or air and I need to move them over to here. Usually you're probably going to move them to your food and air because that's where your population growth engine is. So we can do that right now with that upgrade. But this idea of commerce between stations. And I know like this game was designed purposely to have minimal player interaction, right? So this is kind of like a Euro style where you're playing your game. Of course, when you get to the last step in turn order, you're choosing from the drops, and maybe you'll grab a drop that someone else doesn't have, or maybe you innovate faster so you get a better choice, or you're picked first of an innovation from the innovation market. But there's not a lot of, definitely there's no take that. So we didn't want to have that in the game. And we even call it the anti-debag rule, where if you reserve a canister and you don't install it in your station by the end of the game, you lose 2 victory points. So that keeps people from just reserving something just to be that guy. I've played lots of games where you have people that are just that guy. And I've got a couple siblings that quite frankly are that guy. So, we wanted to not have that, but this idea of being able to almost like Settlers of Catan, where you can trade stuff that you need that someone else doesn't have. So maybe you could have trading with other players where minerals for other people's VNOTs. That might be cool. Somebody's swimming in VNOTs, but they need more minerals, and you can do an exchange. That's an interesting concept. I like that. All right, let's go back, and please feel free to ask any questions that you have. I have got a lot of feedback about people not being able to hear me and then finally being able to hear me. So thank you for that. Any questions you have, throw it at me. This is a wrap session, man. Let's just, let's chat. I also want to make sure you guys can see my screen here too, real quick. And, yeah, I think you can. Cool. All right. So the, or can you not? I don't know. Tell me, can you even see the screen? Hey, Tanner Euro, how's it going? So we're just talking Seas of Venus, and we're going through some of the feedback from people today on our page. Okay, cool, you can see that. I'm going to move it over a little bit more so you can see just not that one, this one. Safari. Let's just nudge that over a little bit so you guys can read along. Okay, cool. So the next one. So they said, what if you have an event that causes a breakdown of a system which needs to be repaired urgently? Maybe the other players can't upgrade until they repair it. So we do kind of have that right now with the a lot of the events. They impact departments, and quite frankly, when they hit those departments, it's debilitating. You can't. You have no VNaughts. You got to try to get the VNaughts back to the department. So we kind of are doing that with a lot of our events right now. Good suggestion though. Maybe a rare positive bonus from mining or discovery of a new resource on Venus, which gives a bonus. That one I thought was really cool as well. So right now we've got kind of just the core Venite, which comes in different refined stages. So the raw ore, which is black, is worth 1. The pink, these little guys here, that's kind of been more refined. So you're starting to see the pink come out, and that's worth 4. And then the purest Venite, which is clear, that is worth 8. And so we have that kind of grading scale in our Venite, but it could be interesting to have something that allows a different type of mineral, or maybe a mineral you gain that does something different. I'm going to think on that one. That's a cool idea. The next one, maybe a rare, this person had a lot of ideas. Good to hearing for all suggestions. Maybe a rare positive bonus from, okay, we did that one. Since cities need resources from Earth and drops are going to end, maybe a rare or expensive card that exists which allows the city to directly contact Earth, and then they get a free upgrade or a drop. That was a cool idea. You don't really lose contact with Earth until the game's over. That literally that signifies the game is done when you lose contact with Earth. But kind of teasing the thread of that idea a bit, I think that there's something there in terms of what if, because we don't do this now, and you see this in a lot of games, and I mean, now it seems so obvious, we probably should include it. Hey, Douglas. Is what if we had a way to go through the discard pile, right? So what if there's an upgrade that allowed a person to, on their turn, they can, like during the canister grab stage, they can either grab a canister or they can take something from the trash pile. And that would be like an upgrade, and we put in one of the departments, and thematically it would be some way of sending a autonomous rover down to collect lost cargo or something like that. That could be kind of cool. That could be really cool. And so I'm gonna think of more on that one. That one is, I think that's definitely something we're probably going to integrate. It seems pretty obvious at this point. For more player interaction, could have some innovation or event that allows players to sabotage other players' mining systems to stall them. Yeah, again, that's the Take That. We try to stay away from Take That in this game. It's not that I don't like Take That. If you play Tanks But No Thanks, that's the first game we ever launched. That game is 1000% Take That. I mean, we should have just called it Take That, because you're just literally on your second roll, you're attacking somebody. And you don't stop until everyone's dead. It's great. It's fast. It's 20 minutes long. So I'm not opposed to Take That. But this game here, I find sometimes if you have Take That elements in games that are meant to be more Euro style and more friendly to that game style, it can sour people as well. So I think I'm probably going to stay away from that. Maybe what we could do at some point after launch is come out with a, hey, if there's anybody that wants to try some additional homebrew rules for this game, here's some ideas we have and ways you can really go after other players. Oh, they just came back. Okay, so Heron came back with some more. How about some kind of research which enhances each system and that could affect other systems, such as you boost the oxygen system and your miners have more oxygen so they spend longer mining, or they mine more efficiently so you get added resources, or perhaps improving the engineering section that allows power to be more efficient so the food section gets a boost. This would probably add more complexity through. It's an interesting idea. Adam and I, when we first created this game, the very first iteration, like we're talking like drawn boxes on a piece of paper, very much had each department, it was like almost like a clock going clockwise, where one department would basically have to do the development for the department in front of it. So it's constantly you're doing the work to improve the other departments. What we found was it added a lot of complexity, confusion, and it was messy, quite frankly. So we end up jettisoning that and going with each department's kind of doing its own thing, and you're having to manage these different departments, and kind of almost like the captain's dead. You're trying to keep the ship afloat. But definitely an interesting idea. But I like some of those ideas of more pure oxygen as a way of doing something even in your air department, right? Or maybe that helps with your population, or maybe having where they're saying the mine. We kind of have the more efficient mining, but we can find ways to create efficiency cards across different departments. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Then we had someone who said the first time they looked this up, they accidentally typed in Cuties of Venus instead of Cities of Venus, and a dating app I think popped up on them, which was kind of funny. So that's the new dating app on the Cities of Venus. The population as they date, they have an app called Cuties of Venus. Then here it comes back, says again, I don't know if these already exist, but event cards could also mess with Earth drops. What if these drops didn't safely make it to the cities, so we have to discard one drop card to make the choices tougher and the cards more scarce that round because of the damaged goods? Or maybe a mechanism where we roll when buying a drop card to see if it's damaged during the drop, and if you roll less than 3, you lose a V0 during the drop. That was an interesting idea too. We have a card right now, and I would say there's probably 20% of the people who've played this game, at least on the reviewer side, absolutely hate this card. It's called the Lost Drop. So it's a picture of the cancer coming through the sky, literally on fire, and you see all the cancers in the background. They're going to the other cities, and they're on fire too because a meteor shower just happened to hit when these cancers are coming through the air. And when that event comes up, that entire drop is gone. So that round, no one gets to pick a canister, which really sucks if you were planning on doing that. I don't think I would want to have it be only hitting certain players or only taking out a certain number of cards, because right now it's designed that everybody gets to a pick of a card, and there's one more card, so there's a little bit more variety there than there are player count. If you hurt one individual but not another person, I don't think that would be as good as right now it's set up that the pain is equally spread. So if there's a lost event, like if the event basically loses the drop run, that hits everybody. If there's a viral outbreak, that hits everybody, right? So it now becomes more, how good were you at preparing your city to weather these events? How good were you at planning out your innovations, planning out when to send VNaughts to the International Innovation Station versus having those VNaughts generating population for you or protecting your shields? Like, that's the dynamic we wanted, it's like, and one reviewer said this, they found it an interesting, I think it's a Harry Gamelord, said they found it an interesting puzzle, right? Is they said, it's kind of interesting how, or maybe it's Board Game Brigade, it's one of these guys. They said, it's a puzzle. You're trying to figure out how to kind of optimize this because bad stuff is constantly happening, and it's not going to stop happening, right, until the end of the game. So it's kind of finding out how to best weather the storm of events. So, interesting idea. We kind of have it right now, but still a great idea. All right, so Alien Encounters and Cuties of Venus, Rita Muscola, and that's all that. Okay, so those are those ones. Then we did our update today. First update where we said thank you, quite frankly, to everybody. And why don't we just... not that one. Where you missed it here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Back to me on camera. I want to say thank you. So anybody, I know some of the people leaving this feed have backed the game. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. This is truly humbling. It is the biggest campaign we've done. We have 9 games, right? So there's this one, and there's Catnip Auction House, which is currently in production. It's going straight to retail, that game. And of these 9 games, we've done 5 Kickstarters. And each Kickstarter I've tried to learn as we've gone along. And I think I've learned a lot going into this one. So we approach this one very different. And once you realize that a lot of this is mathematical, Kickstarter and how the algorithms work, the reverse. And I know Tanner Yarrow, who's on this feed right now, he knows exactly what I'm saying. You have the reverse bell curve, and getting that first day up as high as you can is so important. Keeping the conversation going throughout the campaign is so important. And then making sure you're coming in hard with advertising dollars in your last 72 hours is critically important. You can usually predict where you're going to finish within probably 10, 15, 20% based on your day one day one funding. So that's why there's such a push to get that day one funding. And I know today in our comments, there's a couple of people going like off and irate that we had a this mini that we're giving away for free. You can still get it. You can still buy it if you don't pledge in the first day, and now we've extended this to 3 days. But if you come in the last 72 hours and you just found the game a month later, you can still buy this mini, this first player marker. What we want to do is reward people that came in early, people that followed us, like right now, following this this talk to camera, and interact with us and giving us their ideas, and people that sign up for our email lists and have put up with our monthly updates. Right, we don't spam people. It's literally one update a month that goes out. A little bit we do, obviously a few more during the campaign, but other than that, it's once a month I'll send an update out, and so we don't spam people. And so we want to reward those people, right, that came along with us and help us and understand when we say we need your help on day one, we really need your help on day one. Those people jumping in, we want to reward them. And so we said, hey, although we have this as a purchasable add-on, we're going to give it to you for free. We did have some delays and some of the communication went out. There was issues with the text blast that went out in terms of it not fully serving. We've got those fixed, but so we made a decision. We're going to extend this now to 72 hours. So anybody that backs within the first 72 hours still gets this for free as a thank you. So, as part of this, I just, again, want to say thank you so much to everybody for all your input. It means the world to me. It really does. Some of you may not know, I run the Board Game Binge podcast. So anywhere you download your favorite podcast is Board Game Binge. Just look for it. Apple, Spotify, Google, anywhere you get your favorite podcast, we have a podcast there. We had a great episode tonight. We talked with, I might even go over to his page in a second. We'll look at his page together too. But he has, I keep forgetting, is it Ahoy or something like that? Or To Glory is his campaign. And it's a tactile game where he's like shooting, you have like little boats and you're trying to move them around on the table and you're literally firing little cubes, little cannonballs at other players and trying to knock players off their ships and things like that. Great family-friendly game. We talked to him on the podcast tonight. And our podcast is only 30 minutes, so you can literally listen to it while you brush your teeth or on your way to work. And it's bingeable. And we've had Tanner, so here's Tanner here. I did a free D20 dice coin on my $2 million. I'm going to answer your question in a second. Let me finish this thought because I know I've had Tanner on Yarrow from Yarrow Studios. Again, very smart guy, very innovative in what he's brought to this industry. Had him on the podcast, right? And we get into the story. How'd you get into this how'd you get into board gaming? Why'd you get into board gaming? And we spend most of the time actually talking about the person's story and kind of what makes them tick. And then the last 15 minutes, we'll get into whatever it is they're doing on Kickstarter or whatever there is they're involved with. So, okay, so let's read these comments really quick. So Tanner said he did a free D20 dice coin on his $2 million campaign for the first 24 hours and kept extending and extending and extending. And you think he ran it for 2 weeks because it was helping the ads. That's true. I was talking to BackerKit. BackerKit, as soon as I said I'm extending it to 72 hours, they're like, we're updating all the ads. We're updating the ads. So it's interesting. We actually saw the traffic drop as soon as we cut that off. So maybe lesson learned. I don't know. I'm just one guy in my basement trying to create board games, man. It's I'm learning as much as I can, but as you know, and Tanner, you know this, it's not an exact science. There's lots of things you can learn along the way that they're science-based in how you approach this, but at the end of the day, sometimes it comes down to the Kickstarter gods. All right, Jacob Justice, you backed the 6-player version. Oh my God, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Can't wait. You mentioned some future expansions already. Will there be a big box down the road, or will this all fit in, or is it too soon to know? No, 100%. So this is one of the things that drives me bananas is when things don't fit in one box. Now you might be asking, is there going to be a big box even for like the sequels and things we're working on? I'll have to think about that. I guess. Why not? I think that'd be a great idea. For the 4 versus 6 player version, there will be a different box. So the 6 player version has all the 4 player stuff in it, plus the extra 6 player stuff in it, so it all fits. So you're carrying around one box. I don't want to have to carry around separate boxes. I didn't want to have some weird kind of package that you stick in there. Like it'll all be in one box. We're still trying to figure out the insert. So we've got like a foam insert right now because these rocket trays are custom. Hey, Palma just joined. Hello. These are all thermal formed, but they're like a weird shape, right? So they're not square or rectangle. They don't fit in a custom kind of insert. So if I want to create an insert that fits all these custom shapes, we're looking at like $3,300 US. That's a lot of money for an insert. So we're still kind of toying around, but we're going to figure something out because I don't want this thing to be, sorry for the language, a shit show in the box. Like I want it to actually be organized well, and that when you pack it packs up clean. And that's something that's really, really important to me. This game you can actually unpack in about 5 minutes and pack it up and pack, like pulling it out and putting it back 5 minutes on each side. So very easy to pack it up and put it away. That's a great question. Thank you. Keep the questions coming. Oh, I love it. I get excited when there's questions. All right, so let's go over. There's some more comments that were in the campaign today, really quickly. So on the updates, I did my little diversion there. I was talking about just thanking everybody. So thank you. All right, so this Kick Tracks logo. If you guys are on my page, please smash that button. Again, I know I said this, but for people that just joined us, this button, there's no limit to how many times you can hit it. And Kick Tracks takes the traffic in of every time somebody hits that button, and they use that to decide interest levels in how you rank in their hot list. And you want to be at least in the top 10 because then you're on the landing page. And we've been in the pole position number 2 days in a row. And that's because people keep smashing that button. So do me a favor, if you're anytime during the day, if you're thinking of it, just hit the button. Hit the button, please. It helps us keep our ranking up, and again, helps with the algorithms. All right, so what's next? We announced this today. We have an exciting month ahead of us. There's no stretch targets in this game, but we do have some reveals that we have starting next Tuesday. These are some cool enhancements we're adding to the campaign. It doesn't change the game. It's just cool news. It keeps the conversation going, to be quite candid. All right, the comments. So I thought people commented on this page. Maybe they didn't. Do I have to be on the other one here? No. Oh, bummer. All right, so I'm going to go back over here. Maybe I'll do it like this. All right, and let me see here. Is it maybe because I'm not logged in? That's entirely possible. Yeah, I think it's because I wasn't logged in. All right, so let's go view project. And because there was a couple cool ones even on the update list today. Read more. Oh yeah, here they are. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm just gonna read them. And we got another comment. Is it vertical storage going to keep the box clean, or would meeples be everywhere? That's a great question. So you're gonna have to put the meeples in the bag. I'm not gonna lie, man. There's literally 200 meeples, and like they're tiny. Like these guys here, they're cool because they got the metallic paint and they got the helmet on both sides. But there's 200, and if you got the 6-player version, so you get 250 of them. Imagine spilling that on the floor. That would I'll get some hate mail. So I think what we've done is we have an extra large, like kind of Ziploc bag that they'll fit into. So the idea is after you're done, everybody, you scoop up all the meeples, put them in the tray, you pour the tray into the bag, zip it closed. When you pull it out to unpack the game, you put the tray down, open up the bag, and you pour it in. I think that's going to be the cleanest way to do it. That's the way we've been doing along the way, and it hasn't caused any issues at all. I don't like the trays with the lids because those pop off. I've got one game. I'm not going to name the game because I don't like to disparage people, but the tray just, like, the lid doesn't stay on. And every time because I store my games on the side, like most people do, every time I pull a game out, there's coins friggin' everywhere. It's brutal. So we didn't want to do that. And plus it takes up space in the box. Because there's a lot of stuff in this box, like it's going to be very tough that's why we have to go so deep to just fit the stuff in it. So the the volcano trays are designed to nest If you, with the 6-player version, you're going to have 2 rocket trays, they're going to nest as well. So everything will fit in the box better that way. All right, so where's some of the other upgrades that people recommend? So today we have Pierre Jérôme Lubac, who I think actually backed some of my prior campaigns, which is super awesome. Good guy. Sky Pirates. This I thought was an interesting idea. So I think if we did Sky Pirates, and again, this is kind of the homebrew thing we're talking about before of, is there a take that mechanism that we'd be willing to introduce? Maybe as kind of something I think we would send out after the campaign to say, here's some homebrew rules you guys could use if you want to spice things up and get get some carnage going. So we could do Space Pirates that way. Another way to actually approach that, because it's kind of an interesting idea, is taking the idea that everybody gets attacked by Space Pirates, right? So that there's some kind of rogue station out there somewhere that's full of very bad people that just comes and attacks at different stations. I could see that being kind of an event that kind of hit everybody at the same time. And we'd have to figure out what you would lose. And maybe you have to pick an upgrade you have to discard. Again, I think people will be pissed with that, but it could be something interesting to do. Julio, he's like, I'm expecting something like an asteroid about to hit a colony and everyone is trying to get the F out of there to other parts of the board. Or like something goes wrong and it has to be dealt with. That's our entire game right now, actually, but that's a great suggestion. The next one, maybe an innovation that could be atmospheric mining. This was a cool idea I read today too, so I'm glad I read this again. Atmospheric mining. So there's something you're kind of pulling. Welcome, Emma. Something you're kind of pulling out of the atmosphere. That could be kind of cool. There's a nugget of coolness to that. I just have to figure out how that would execute. But that's an interesting idea too. I like it. The next one, cloud skimming or cloud surfing or cloud sailing. That'd be kind of cool too. Could there be a way you could... Again, this is getting way beyond the scope of the game, but again, I'm starting to think, okay, maybe there's something you're doing kind of later on, again, as different iterations of the game where you're freshening up the rules, you're giving different play styles or different rule sheets people can use to do different types of games with the same stuff. There could be something there where it becomes like almost cooperative, or you have a way where people can team up and you can almost merge stations. That could be kind of cool. Jacob, keep them coming, man. So you said, I like that idea, Space Pirates or aliens. What I was saying about aliens earlier is because we still want this to be rooted in somewhat kind of scientific reality. And it's like near future. So it's only like year 2222. We would probably do that in the form of like microbes in the clouds of Venus, which again, there's been a lot of theories that could actually be happening right now. There is I'm gonna look it up for the next live I do, but there's I thought I had a drink around here somewhere. There is a scientific paper that was showing that there's a certain compound, I can't remember the name of it, that has showing concentrations in the atmosphere of Venus that they just detected this past year, that is typically only generated when there's a presence of life, like microbial life. And they said certain rocks can kind of create this, but in these kind of concentrations, most times this is because of microbial life. So very, very likely it might be microbial life that at one point was on the surface back when Venus was more Earth-like. And then as the surface temperature rose and the atmosphere got really thick and the pressure increased, those life forms eventually started floating and living in the clouds. So I could see something like that where there's some kind of like a space virus or some kind of a space microbe that attacks your station. I mean, what could be kind of cool is right now your shields are eroding every round. So you lose a shield unless you get a card that allows you to kind of upgrade your shields and protect them. Maybe there's an event like that where if you get an event, you're losing a person out of a specific department. And like, I don't know if you can't, like right now, if you lose a person out of a department and you don't have somebody there, then you have to lose 2 from other parts of your station. So maybe there's a nugget of an idea there that I'd like to kind of tease out, but I think that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool. Oh, thank you, Emma. There's Emma, my daughter. She was just she was live to hear me say I needed something to drink. So that's kind of the comments we had today. I thought they're pretty cool. Again, I get it. You know, the people that get frustrated about, first player, your first day incentives and hating that. I mean, some people went on about stretch goals and things like that. There are no stretch goals in our campaign, but again, we just keep moving on and try to stay excited, stay positive, and focus on the cool stuff that's coming. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. I'm not going to say what the reveals are. I'm so tempted to say the first one, but we're not going to say the reveals yet till Tuesday. But starting, I think either tomorrow, maybe Friday, we're going to start seeding out our stories. So we have these stories that we've written called Chronicles of Venus. And each of them talk about a step in the process. So we've got, like, there's a sequence you go through and that everybody does together. This is simultaneous play, and you're all going through the sequence together. And once you get the sequence down, people get it right away, and then you don't really have to go through the sequence. You just kind of do your stuff and then get to the final grab stage. But that sequence, we've got a story for each one of those steps, and we talk about at one point, like a miner that his ascent thrusters fail. And on his way down, he realizes he's not coming back. And what would be going through his mind right at that point? Do you keep mining, or do you just kind of call it the day, right? So we've got like a little mini. They're only like 200, 250 word like little stories. We got one about a captain who's just been recently promoted, stuff like that. So trying to have some fun with the theme, and I think that'd be kind of cool. Tanner, all right, you got some questions. Why no stretch goals? What is the backers' incentive to share the campaign once it funds? Well, my friend, that's a good question. The incentive to share the campaign, quite frankly, is, again, the news we have and the reveals we're going to do. We had the choice, and there's a split camp, and you're in the industry, so there's a split camp right now. Do you do stretch goals, or you do not do stretch goals? For us, I've always been bitten by stretch goals. Right, so there's one of two things: is you're going to pick a bunch of goals, right? And let's call a spade. No one's goals today are rooted in, if I get this funding, I'm actually able to do X, Y, Z, right? No stretch goals are set up that way. They used to be, back when they first came out, it used to be, okay, I'm trying to put this game together, and oh my gosh, I'm funding more than I can. Well, now if I can fund this much, I'm going to do this extra thing. And now, oh my God, I got more cash. Okay, now I'm going to fund this thing. But stretch goals aren't like that now. Stretch goals now are a marketing tool, right? And granted, Tanner's done $1 million campaigns, so he, in this case, probably has more experience in Kickstarter marketing than I do. But my feeling is I wanted to have the best possible game out of the gate, full stop. I had done that on previous campaigns. We did this on Nutty Squirrels, where we said, we knew we were going to do linen finish on the cards. Like the factory's already set up to do linen finish. I think we did spot UV. I can't remember if we did spot UV on that one. We had all these extra cards that we had put in. We had like 6 things that we were going to do anyways that were already good to go. But we had to play the game, right, of doing the stretch goals. So we built the stretch goals in to say, okay, if we get to this level, we get to this level. Then you run into a case where you're trying to stretch. So the chances are you're not going to hit that last stretch goal, or there's a few stretch goals you might not hit, or you're trying to run the math to find out kind of where you're going to be. And if you're not there, if you don't hit it, then you're not going to do the stretch goal, but you were going to do it anyways. So then you have to come back and say, hey, surprise everybody, we're going to do these stretch goals anyways. To me, it just feels a bit disingenuous. So on this campaign, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, we'll see. The math. Tanner, right now, you can do the calculation. You know exactly where we're going to end, right? Regardless of whether I do stretch goals, you know exactly where we're going to end right now. But let's just kind of play this out a little bit. There are some cool things that are coming that are worth sharing, but they're not tied. We're doing them. They're not tied to specific monetary hits, right? So we've already calculated the cost of what we need to do these. We're going to be able to pay for them, and we're going to do them. And I think they're shareable things to put out there. So I think it's to generate excitement around it. For me, I think it's more the buzz around. People are excited about the campaign, which will hopefully keep this going. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And if I am, you and I, my friend, will do another podcast episode, and which will be, I think, episode number 3, because we've done 2 together already. And we'll compare and contrast the merits of stretch goals. It's funny. I look at Inside Up Games. Right, is a good example of this with Connor McGoey, a great guy from Thunder Bay, Ontario. Great company, great games. I think I own like 4 of his games. Earth is spectacular. If anybody's not played Earth, get it. It is awesome. Block and Key. Probably one of the more underrated games of, was it 2 years ago, like a year and a half, 2 years ago that came out? Probably one of the more underrated games. It's like 3-dimensional Tetris. You're playing the game that you see. The other people are playing the game they see. But when you place a piece to try to kind of fill in your puzzle, that guy's view is completely changing what they're trying to fill in. It's a really cool idea. Super premium components with that game as well. So they went down this path of no stretch goals. But on their last campaign, Terminus, they did have stretch goals. I don't know if it made a difference or not. I really don't know. I guess we're going to see. We're kind of, we're locked into what we've got planned out. Everything's already mapped out anyways. So for me to come out with stretch goals now, there's not really much I could add in that I haven't already planned to add in. Because it's an expensive game. It is an expensive game. It is not going to be cheap to make. It has got a lot of stuff in the box. But that's my that's my 2 cents. Any other questions? Does anybody else have any other thoughts? Well, I let you ruminate on that. There's Emma smiling again. Thanks, Emma. I am going to go over to, and I'm going to share this on my screen as well. I want to actually talk about this To Glory campaign. So I interviewed this guy today. I got this new software called something TV. I know it's in the link to the feed. What's it called? I'll give them a call out. It's called Lula TV. So this software allows you, it's web-based software, allows you to pipe in your OBS feed and broadcast to TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube all at the same time, simultaneously, which is cool because I used to use the Yellow Duck for that. And then that's why I haven't been on Instagram Live for like 8 months because my software wouldn't allow me to do it from my desktop. This software allows you to do that. But what happened was the software overrode everything on my OBS and whacked my entire Board Game Binge podcast setup. So I was scrambling at the last minute to set it up. Couldn't share my screen to show us campaign. The audio didn't record, so people just saw us basically miming. So at the end of the day, what I had to do is go and kind of splice in my backup audio feed because we always have redundancies we record. So that episode's up now live, and you can watch the episode with Konstantinos was his name, from Vesuvius Media. And he's a gentleman from, he's Greek, but he's immigrated to Canada. He's on the east coast of Canada, which is kind of funny to talk to somebody in Halifax with a Greek accent. It's not something you hear every day. Really cool guy. And so we went through his campaign, and it was kind of cool. So I'm going to show it. I might even show Flip Day on here too. We got people here. Tanner, send me a link on, if you're still in the feed, on in the feed here, and I'll pull up your Flip Die too. Flip Die is really cool. All right, so let's go to For Glory. For Glory ends in or To Glory. I'm so sorry. All right, let me share the screen. This one ends in 8 days. I'm gonna be honest. I'm probably gonna back it. It's cool. It's really cool. It reminds me a lot of games I played when I was a kid with my brothers. We play things where you're kind of like sitting down on the carpet and it's very tactile in nature and how you play it. It's cool. So you're these ships, and so I'm doing a diversion here, guys. I apologize, but why not? We'll get back to Seas of Venus in a second. But To Glory is again this company's based out of Halifax / Greece, I guess. But you've got these ships. on this board. So you're trying to almost like Sid Meier's Pirates. If anybody ever played Sid Meier's Pirates, you're trying to kind of get the broadside of your ship, pirate ship, to face the other guy's ships. And you're trying to get to a spot where they're going to be or get there before they can move so you can fire at them. And you have people on your ships, and then there's like a kraken in the water as well. And then there's like this kind of tower that somebody can place a tower on how to do it. But this whole mechanic of, you got these, I think 8mm cubes, or they could be 10mm cubes, where you're like flicking them at the person's boat and you're knocking the people off their ship while they're trying to grab treasures and treasure maps and things like that. It's very quick. It's like a 15-20 minute game. Probably kind of game you're going to play with kids. But definitely kind of thing you probably want to have on your shelf if you have kids, or if you're around kids, or you have kids that ever come over your house. It seems like the kind of game, if you're a gamer, you want to have that you can just pull out and get down on the floor and play with some people. Like, it's cool. They've got the higher tier of their campaign seems a bit unnecessary, but it's metal coins and metal chests, which, I mean, is super cool. And if you did back, you'd have to say, okay, do I need those? I don't know if I need them. They're cool. But the rest of the game is all cardboard. It does fit in the box. I asked them this, and I think there's an image down here somewhere too. There you go. And the actual pieces fit in the box, assembled. Euro Studios just joined back. Where'd you go, man? Oh, you're joining on TikTok. There we are. Send me a link to if you send me a link to the Flip Die. I'll search it up. Flip Die is super cool too. We talked about that on the podcast. So this is To Glory. Again, these guys have 8 days left. If this is something that interests you, again, I interviewed him today. Go to boardgamebinge.com or download the podcast anywhere you download your favorite podcast, and Board Game Binge, and you can hear that 30-minute episode where we talked to him about his story, his game, and kind of how he got into this. He did catapult feuds as well, where you're trying to have catapults, much like catapults and crossbows from like the 80s. It's kind of inspired by that game where you're trying to build a castle, physically build a castle, and you're trying to knock other people's castles over and the people off their castles. It's pretty cool. All right, so let me go back here. All right, let's pull up Flip Die. Let's get all Flip Die here. Since we got Tanner Yarrow in the house. So those who don't know Tanner Yarrow, super good dude. He's down in the States somewhere. I don't know whereabouts in the States you live, Yarrow. I think you're West Coast, maybe. He messaged me on YouTube. It's okay, I found it. All right, so where are we going right here? There we go. Flip Die. This is probably one of the coolest innovations I've seen in the board game industry. I gotta be honest. Like, and check out Yarrow Studios. He's a cool guy to follow. And again, I'm not just blowing smoke because he's in the feed here, but I mean, he's innovative, right? So he thinks of cool stuff to bring to the industry. And he did a lot of stuff like with D&D maps, Infinity Scrolls. You know, one of the first guys doing like a really good like map book and things like that. But he had this idea of Flip Die. And this is it's a coin you flip, and how it lands, it randomly generates a number, right? So he has, I think he's got like, we're going to go through them. There's like D6s, D10s, D12s, and it is super cool. It's metal, so it's like pretty heavy duty. What I always love about his videos too is he always does like crazy stuff in his videos. So here he's like hosing it off with a hose, hitting it with a hammer. Here's the one inspiration I would say, Tanner, I'm going to give you this. Tanner has done several $1 million campaigns. He has proved to me you do not have to go spend a boatload of money on fancy CGI Kickstarter videos. Yes, there's a lot of CGI in here showing the concept of the Flip Die, which I think is important because you got to show the inner mechanics of it. But for the most part, most of his videos where he has his hero video at the top of the campaign, it's usually shot practically. And, you know, to still hit $1 million, that tells me that if you're able to, don't be afraid of that. Don't let people tell you that you have to do a crazy CGI video. With our Cities of Venus, I mean, we shot most of it practical. We did a little CGI at the beginning, but most of it's practical. Like, we have the actual game, right? We had a reviewer copy, which has all the final components. The cards, of course, there's a way more variety in the final game, but I mean, there's enough of them there that we're able to shoot it practically and actually show you the game. So why go pay someone to do that as CGI when I can just shoot it practically? All right. So, are you ready, kids? So this is his campaign. This is already done, by the way, but I'm pretty sure you can still late pledge it. I'm sure there's a link if you find Flip and Die. Just Google it, you'll find it. This guy's everywhere. But even on Kickstarter, you can late pledge. And when you flip it, there's this little ball bearing on the inside. And these guys had to do like some heavy duty engineering to make sure that this properly randomized the placement of that ball bearing when it goes through. But check this out. Like, this is crazy. And there's been a couple knockoffs. Like, it's amazing how fast people will copy a good idea. Because I've seen, I think, 2 other ones come out similar to this now. But he was like the first guy to do this. And there's like a set of them too. So I think this is like a D20 he's got down here. It's all kind of like machined. I'm pretty sure it's like, I think it's aluminum. And they did the statistics to see, okay, statistically, how often does the flip actually come up with the different numbers? Yeah, it's just super cool. Oh, now we're getting into the other colors. Okay, so here's some of the other colors down here. I believe these are kind of like, was it that where you do how you kind of, yeah, it's antiquated. There's a certain thing you can do where you can actually colorize the metal. But he's got these different sets. Silver, bronze, 7 realms. It's got the case that comes with it. The Dwarven Farron. Oh, look at that. And the art on these is unbelievable. So this one here was the D6. I asked them about this, how to do the D6. It is curious, right? But it's kind of clever how they've set it up. So basically how it lands, the ball bearing will just hit one of those 3 spots, but also it's going to determine which side of the coin it actually flips on, which is kind of cool. And I know the one thing people when this campaign first came out, were saying, okay, but like, how long do you have to wait for this ball bearing to kind of nestle into the hole? You know, you're going to be able to roll quick. They tested that too, and it's the same speed as rolling a die. You're getting the number at the same speed, which is really cool. Look at this, eh? Like, this guy doesn't F around. That's what I'll say. It's cool. And this comes out in June. Creation, that's the creation timeline. When is it? When are they shipping? I think later this year. April 2023. So these guys are shipping now. Now, which means you can probably buy them right now. Oh, look at that. There's a chest. Lots of cool stuff. So that is Flip Die. I'm going to go up to the very top and just make sure there's a button up there. It's been fun. Maybe I'll start looking at other pages too. We got Blair Burks in the house. Welcome. Welcome, 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 sir. All right. And Burks is from Board Game Burks. I think you were on actually yesterday too. Welcome back. All right. Let's see here. Okay, Flip Die. I need to move my screen out of the way. Pre-order. Boom. Right there. You can pre-order. Let's hit the button. Let's see what it does. Let's see what it does. Product is currently unavailable. Please add your email below. What? What? Oh my God, Tanner. Okay. I'm going to let Tanner way back in and let me know what is going on and how people can get this dice like now. We'll let him, I think he's still in the lobby. I'll let him respond and then I'll tell people what he has to say. All right. So that was that one. Let me see if I can find another one. So that was a cool campaign. What else do people want to see? Is there another campaign you want to talk about? I can talk about another campaign. I could talk about literally anything for the next 3 hours if you want. But let's go back to the one that's kind of started this entire conversation today. Why don't we do that? Let's go back to Cities of Venus. All right. Cities of Venus. And get this page up. And let's chat. All right. So we're almost at $61,000. Thank you so much for everybody that's pledged this campaign so far. It's very, very kind of you. We are, again, humbled. This is the biggest campaign we've ever had. And certainly there's been a lot of learnings along the way. As I said earlier, Tanner and I will have the debate about the stretch goals or not. Here's the interesting thing, right? So we literally had 3 backers. Now, I think 2 of them weren't even backers because they pledged $1. One person said, I'm never backing this campaign, but they still pledged $1 so they could comment. Whatever. But they went off on the whole idea of even any kind of stretch goals, any kind of early birds, like ranted. And it was weird. And so this is kind of the balance that you have to do as well in a campaign is like you want to keep things light and positive and keep people excited. And it is super easy to get hooked into a big debate if someone wants to get you into like, you know, a back and forth on something they're passionate about in a negative sense. And I try to take the perspective of I don't like to give air to the fire. I really don't. I'd rather just focus on the positive and focus on the other people that are excited and let that just die down instead of kind of giving it air. I did reach out to one person who was a backer, so they had actually backed the game legitimately, and had kind of weighed in on the conversation. I kind of private messaged them and just said, hey, like, I know your comment kind of implied I'm this big corporation and I'm, you know, trying to get the little guys, and I'm one dude in my basement, man. Like, I'm doing the best I can, self-funding this, you know, like most Canadians, most Americans, most people around the world. COVID slammed them hard and probably over leveraged and things like that. I'm just like everyone else, right? And I'm doing my best to get this campaign out. So I sent that as a private message to him just to say, you know what, I'm not going to feed the fire over here, but for you, again, because you've backed, I just want to let you know where I'm coming from, let you know I'm not some big corporate entity because I'm far from it. All right, let's look at Cities of Venus. And let me just check the notes. Again, Tanner Yarrow, if you are still in the feed, my friend, drop me a note and let me know if somebody wants to get those flip die, which looks super cool, other than just sending an email. Is there somewhere they can go and sign up now, a web page, URL, anything, let me know. Okay. Cities of Venus. So if you don't know this campaign, and hopefully if you're here you do, this is the campaign that we launched in Kickstarter. And this, so far we're at 61,000. We've got 570 backers. Very, very happy with where we landed. We had this day one backer incentive. We had some delays in some of the emails that went out, and the text blast. I woke up this morning and we used Sendinblue, and Sendinblue sent like 80 of the emails, or sent 80 of the texts, and had like 1,000 it didn't send because the credits weren't, there wasn't enough credits. I had to refresh the credits. So we thought, you know what, talked to BackerKit and said, why don't we extend it? So we extended it to 72 hours. So anybody that backs within the first 72 hours gets this. Let me hide this camera. First player mini for free. And it's super cool. My niece painted this one, so it comes white. You can paint it your own way. Well, they'll actually come gray, and then you can paint them. You get this for free. Otherwise, it's a $10 add-on. It is available. We don't hold, like, people can still get it if they want it. If they don't take advantage of the early bird discount, they just don't get this for free. So you get this in the first 72 hours. Even if you only pledge $1 and then you come in at the end of the game and kind of lock your pledge down, then we'll still give you the mini. You still qualify for the mini. As long as your initial pledge was in the first 72 hours, you get this guy for free if you buy a 4-player or 6-player game. If you buy multiple copies, somebody asked me this, you get multiples of these. So we'll give you one for each game, no problem. And the only thing we won't do is once a campaign closes, if you did like $1 pledge and then you don't end up back in the game, but come in during the pledge manager, at that point you don't unfortunately qualify. At some point you have to still reward people that are there at the beginning, right? So that's kind of what this is for, to help reward people. But that is in the first 72 hours. All right. So the story behind this, for those who don't know, it is the year 2222, and the people on Earth have been establishing these floating cities in the clouds of Venus, and they are sending supplies, they're sending immigration, they're sending engineers, they're sending things to kind of help the residents of Venus in these floating cities survive. At some point, communication is lost with Earth. There's a catastrophe. No one knows what happens, but they've gone black. They've gone radio silent. And now you have to hopefully stand on your own 2 feet. And the way we've kind of put that into this game is we have a card that comes up in the last third of the deck. So the deck is separated into 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Things get more punishing the further you get into the game. But in the third phase, if the Earth card comes up, then that's the last round. The game ends. So it's kind of a random game end trigger that goes. So that's kind of the theme behind this. Everybody has their own player boards, which is a city that you're going to try to optimize, grow, make it thrive. And at the end of the game, the person who basically has the strongest city is going to win. And that's defined by the most victory points on the cards you've collected, the most minerals. You get a victory point for every 4 mineral points you have, and then you get a victory point for every 2 VNaughts you have on your station. So the combination of those gets a score. Whoever's the highest score wins. There are bonuses for the richest nation and the most populous nation as well. As I said, I'm just an indie board game publisher. We love bringing ideas to the table, and for us, it's just it's cool. I love it. I love seeing somebody enjoy something I've created. It's as simple as that. That's why I do this. It just hits me right in the chest every single time I see somebody playing a game that they've played because they've chose to play it, not because I asked them to play it, but I look off in the corner across the room at maybe game night and I see somebody pull out one of my games. For me, that is, it's just an incredible feeling. So that's why we do it. We want to keep bringing games to the market, and we can do that with your support. Also, what you see in this campaign page in terms of our Kickstarter is exclusive to Kickstarter. I've had 3 retailers already reach out to me during this campaign, and one consolidator saying, "Hey, can we get in on this? We want to be able to sell this in our stores. We want to be able to sell this to distributors." And the response, which was kind of stung for me to have to say, was, "This is not available at retail. This is not available to distributors. We're not doing consolidators. We are going to sell this game on Kickstarter. After Kickstarter is done, any copies we have left, because again, you have minimum runs, we'll sell at conventions and we'll sell straight from our website, and those will be sold at a higher price than we're selling it on Kickstarter." Because there's so much stuff in this game, and with the margins that retailers need, there's no way that they'd be able to be in a realistic price point. It wouldn't hit a retail price point. It's impossible. Because the retailers take 50% off, so they have to buy for half the price that you're selling to people at. And then distributors want to take it for another like 40 to 50% off of that. So you're making like on a $50 game with a distributor deal or consolidator deal, you might make like $4, $5. A game like this, I can't do it. So what we have said is we will strip it down. We'll take out the mat. There won't be 4-layer boards. We'll do single-layer boards, so your cards go on top of them. No mechs, no trays, just cards, meeples, and gems. That we could probably do at a retail price point. So we'll do a retail version of that. Probably do that through consolidators, and with the consolidators, in localization deals, they can sell to retailers that way. But as you see it on our Kickstarter page, it is not going to be at retail. So supporting us now is one of the benefits of that is you actually get the game, because you might not have a chance to get it any other way. I have different, really quickly, like how you play the game. We've broken up into kind of the 6 core steps. I see Tanner Yarrow just joined us again. Yarrow, while you were away, my friend, we went to your kind of late pledge button, and it just took us to an email sign-up screen. Where can people, let me tell people where they can get the flip die if they want to order it now or order soon. Is there somewhere they can go and actually pay to pre-order it? Let me know in the comments if you don't mind. All right. So the drop, how to play. You have the drop. So you have the canisters coming through the clouds that have been sent from Earth. That comes down onto the front into the center play area, which is the neoprene mat, a stitched neoprene mat, I'll say. That happens first. Then you looked and see, is there this caution symbol on any of the cards? And if there is, you have to resolve events. And you have to resolve events. Hey, Vivek, you're back again. You have to resolve events equal to the number of the phase you're in. So when we first started playing this game, we just said if an event comes up, you resolve it. We literally had people crashing their cities. 0 VNOTs left. It was too punishing, so we had to cap it. And so now, if no matter how many event symbols come up, if you're in the first phase, you're only resolving 1 event. In the second phase, if you have to resolve up to 2 events, if you have 2 symbols show up, and then third phase, same thing, 3 events you can have to resolve up to. You might ask, well, why not have just in phase 1, you just have to resolve 1 event? That's part of the dynamic of the game. Is there's a randomness in that, in the way these come out. And you're not playing with all the cards. Like roughly half the cards aren't even in play when you're playing. So you're randomly picking a mix of cards every time you play. So every time you're playing is going to be different. You might play a game. I've seen games where somebody get through the first phase and only 1 event have come up. I've seen people play this game where they go through the first phase and there's like an event every single drop. So that unpredictability I like, because it stops people from kind of nailing down one specific strategy they always play and they always win at. So we want to keep people constantly changing their strategies, having to constantly adapt, and that's why we designed it that way. After resolve events, which are predominantly bad, so there are some immigration cards where everybody gets 2 VNOTs, but that's only 20% of the cards. So the majority of the time, bad stuff is happening. And the further you get into the game, the worse it gets. If you don't like bad stuff happening in a game, I'm just going to say this, because I had 2 reviewers that came back that actually didn't even provide reviews, just because they're like, we don't like games where bad stuff happens. We don't like negative events. Totally cool. Not every game is for everybody. And, we're pretty upfront that we're trying to emulate the struggle in this game. And there's some rewards along the way where it feels good when you can make things kind of click. But there's punishment coming at you from all directions. And if you don't like that, then this game is not for you. And we're totally fine with that. If you do like a challenge like that, where it's like, okay, I got absolutely destroyed last game. I think I'm going to try a different strategy this time. I'm going to approach it a little bit differently this time. And okay, now I got through this time. Maybe I still didn't win, but man, I did a lot better than I did last game. Or maybe I planned a little bit better. If that's the kind of thing you like doing, kind of that thinky, kind of puzzly, but still not too heavy, because we call this like a medium light, like a welterweight in terms of weight, then this is definitely the kind of game for you. All right, so then you're going to erode your shields. Your shields are eroding every round. If you don't have anybody in your shields to erode, you have to lose 2 people from somewhere else on your station. So it's very, very important that you're constantly building up your shields. You can get upgrades that'll help you protect against that, but you start off the game with shields that are constantly depleting. We have Adam, the co-designer, just joined us on TikTok. Adam, welcome. So Adam, feel free to join in with any questions, comments you have. Adam was part of the live feed yesterday as well. And like me, he's running on empty. He's got 2 little ones, real young ones at his house that keep him going all night long as well. So I feel for him. But thanks for joining, Adam. All right. Population growth is always the lowest number of VNOTs between your food department and your water air department. So it's basically, in this case, you see there's 4 and 3. The department has 3. That's how many VNOTs you're going to grow by this round. You take those VNOTs and you deploy them across your city. At any time, you can be deploying VNOTs to the innovation station if you want. And by deploying them there, this allows you to unlock special upgrades, special powers that usually come with more victory points, and allows you to do cool things. They're different innovations that you can't get in these regular drops from Earth. It does cost 8 VNOTs to do that. And you have to be planning this as well, because you can't just drop 8 VNOTs into the International Innovation Station. You can only deploy 2 at a time. So if you're doing a deployment, you can only deploy a maximum of 2 to that station. And that's to keep people from just heading to that first and then maxing that out. It really forces a lot of balance in the game. That's a cool feature that we have. Then we get into city actions. City actions is where a lot of the meat of the game happens. So if you got canisters you reserve from prior turns, you can install those, pay for them, obviously, the cost that they had on them, plus a mechanic to upgrade those. You can, and they could be either immigration boosts or they can be actual physical things you're plugging into your board, which you can see here in the images, which is one of the benefits. People really love the boards in this game. That's the one thing I think is very consistent across the board. People love that things physically plug into the board. Then we've got the claiming a canister. So sorry, during the city actions, we have, of course, you can equip canisters. You can mine. So you have our dice mechs, which you can see in this image. These are the unpainted ones. We show some painted ones on our page as well. They do not come pre-painted. You have to paint them yourself. You see right above there is your mineral storage. And you can also buy VNOTs, only one per round, which is more of a catch-up mechanism, because if you've got slammed pretty hard from an event, it allows you to kind of repopulate to at least weather the next storm that's coming. Then at the end, this is the only time when there's player turn order, right? So everything else is simultaneous play. That's why this game moves very, very fast. At the end of the game, or at the end of the round, in step 6, people take turns. And again, this will change every turn, every round. Player marker moves to the next person, and that person gets the first grab. And you choose one of the canisters, and you choose what you want, and you pay the cost that's on the right side of the card, and you install it into your station. If you want that card but you can't afford it, you can still take it, but you have to put it in your holding bay. Again, as I said earlier, we have the anti-debag rule, which is you can't just grab a canister just to keep somebody else from getting it. You kind of can still do that, but you're not going to do it unless you actually want it, because if you don't install it in your station by the end of the game, you lose 2 victory points. So it's very important to be mindful of that. At the end of the game, the Earth card comes up. That triggers the end of the game. We've lost contact with Earth, and we tally up our points. And I just talked about the points earlier on. Let's go through what's in the box. There's a lot of stuff in this box. So there's a stitched neoprene mat, very, very high quality. We saw this in a game I had backed on Kickstarter called Vivid Memories from Floodgate. And as soon as I saw their player mat, right away I looked at Adam and I said, we have to get this into our game. It looked awesome. So we created this mat, rolls up, fits right in the box. Your 4 mining mech minis with the iron ore or the V-Knight ore dice that fits in the back. This is both decorative, looks great on the table, but also has a very specific function. We found when we were playing this game, pretty much every playtest we did, someone would always forget, did they actually pay the cost to mine, right? Because you have to pay a cost of a miner in order to roll a die in order to mine. And often people would forget. And it's not like it was malicious. They would just honestly forget, oh, did I, because you're doing this pretty much every round, did I actually, pay the cost to do that? Well, this game sometimes will, quite often, not sometimes, quite often, the point spread is like 2-3 points at the end of the game between the top players. So that one VNOT could be the difference between whether you won or not. So it's very important that you don't miss it. So we have these dice mechs that allow you to kind of track that. So you put your VNOT into the mech, you pull the die out, you roll it, you get your minerals, you put the die back, then you take the person out of the VNOT and you put it into the central supply. And everybody does that. And everyone can see that everyone's done that. Everything's above board and it's easy to track. You can paint your own minis. Here's 4 minis that my niece Megan painted. She's great at painting minis. I suck. She did a great job. They look awesome. We got 4 ultra premium quad layer player boards. These things are just awesome. As you can see from the video, this was one of the things we knew right out of the gate we were going to do. Hands down, we had this was not even a doubt that we were going to do this. We want to have a physical board that you're physically plugging things in, actually upgrading the board, making it better by plugging things into the board. In order to do that, we had to make it 4 layers. Originally, it was going to be 3 layers, but you can see the VNOTs there. We didn't want them sliding off the board. So there's like a top layer that acts as a tray to hold your VNOTs in. You can slide the cards in, and as you can see, the VNOTs don't even move. So in order to do that, there's a 3rd layer that's sandwiched in between as well that allows us to fit the cards in. So this is a 4-layer board, ultra premium. We're likely going to make these linen finish. We're working with the factory right now. I think the linen will make them just a little bit more scuff resistant. But they're uber premium as they are. But if I can make them even more premium by the time we ship this, I'll definitely do that. 86 cloud drop cards. There's a crap load of cards in this game. The cloud drop cards, you're only using, I believe, in a 5-player game. I think you leave out about 12 cards in the 5-player game. So there's that mix. We're probably going to add more actually. So 86 might not be the right number. There's a crap load of cards. And these give you different cloud drops. There's different things that happen. There's tons of different kinds of things that happen in this game. It hits pretty much every single department. We do have some kind of what we call like minor upgrades. And hey, Con, how's it going? some of the minor upgrades we have where they're kind of like an innovation light. So there's a heavier duty, more impactful version of that in the innovation market. But we've got some lighter versions kind of in the drop as well. Like there's one that allows you to add a point to your mineral roll. So every time you roll, you get an extra point. Things like that we have in that drop. We have ways to increase the capacity of different departments. So you can maybe get more population, right? If you can get the capacity of your food and your air and water up, then your population is going to grow by that many more people if you can get more people into that department, and so forth. Event cards, 22 event cards. Right now in our reviewer copies, we've got a lot of duplicates. There's still a lot in there, but I think there's 3 of each. We're probably going to knock this down to 2 of each, which will allow us to have even more events. So that's what we talked at the beginning of this feed. We were getting some ideas, and we kind of prompted people in our Kickstarter page as well that we're going to do these looking for ideas, thematic ideas on how we can create even more. So there's going to be a lot more variety in the events. And same thing with the innovation cards. A lot more innovation coming in there as well. And again, there's some really cool ideas we had in the comment area of our Kickstarter page, which was awesome. And I read through those earlier on the feed as well. I might go through this again in a little bit, but that's cool. We got these 4 International Innovation Station player boards. These act as a player aid right now. So you got the 6 steps that you go through, plus you have end game scoring, and the end game scoring, it's a good handy reference so you kind of know what you're going after. Because this game is language independent, it's going to be available in 6 different languages. I'm probably going to take the languages off of these cards and put it onto like a reference card for everybody. And the reference card will have more details about what some of the powers and upgrades do as well. What that allows me to do is what I'd like to do with these, and we can't announce it yet because we got to see where we end. And I don't want to put it as a stretch goal because I still have to work it through at the factory. So it might be something we just end up doing before we ship it. But if I'm confident we can do it before the campaign's done, then I'll announce it. But I want to make these dual layer with like little meeple cutouts. So you actually put the meeples in the cutouts on the board so you can keep track. Okay, I've got up to 8, and then the 8th one has a question mark or it shows the light bulb where the innovation occurs. That would be super cool. But obviously there's an increased cost for that. So I'm toying around with that idea. Again, it's something that anywhere we can make this even better, we will. Even after the campaign's done, if we come up with a cool idea or talking to the factory, if they're able to trim somewhere to allow us to pimp something else out, we'll just do it, right? Because again, we want this to be a showpiece on the table. We want people to be proud of this game. We want people to keep this for many, many years because they know that we're coming with like expansions and upgrade packs and different card packs and things like that. So, we want this to stay in the collection for a while and have a long life. Your V-Knots, 200 V-Knots, 135 acrylic gems, 4 marbled D6 dice. These are designed to look like the V-Knight ore on the surface of Venus. Rocket-shaped Meeple resource bowl, 3 volcano trays. Of course, the rule book. Rule book right now is 8 pages. 2 of those just talk about the science behind going to Venus, which, again, there's a lot of science showing that we could do that. And it'll probably end up being 12 pages by the time we're done. We're going to add a lot more diagrams and things like that. You can see the draft version right now on our Kickstarter page if you want to download it and read it. Some people like to do that. Spot UV on the box. That's included. I wasn't going to create a fake stretch goal around that. We're just going to do it. Inside lid printing as well. And then the 6-player extended pledge levels. So this gives you 2 more V-Knots. These ones were painted by my niece. Of course, they're not coming painted. You have to paint your own, but she did a fantastic job. They look awesome. 24 more Cloud Drop cards, 8 more event cards, 60 more innovation cards, 50 more V-Knot meeples. What I will say is the cards that come in the 6-player version will be unique to the 6-player version. So all these extra cards we add aren't just going to be duplicates of what's already in the 4-player game. If you get in the 6-player game, you're getting way more cards in terms of variety. 2 more D6 marble dice, another rocket tray, another 3 volcano resource trays, 2 more mini ISS player boards. That should be IIS boards. We're going to get Caitlin to change that. And then 2 quad layer player boards. All right, so here's a comparison chart between the 2 different pledge levels. I was actually surprised at how many people were surprised by the way we structured our pledges. For me, it seemed it seemed obvious. But I guess this isn't done often. I guess this is unconventional. But having like one pledge level being 4-player, and then if you want to go up to 6-player, well, then that's a different pledge level. I guess most people will have it in terms of quality of boxes that they provide, like metal components versus paper components, punch outs versus wood meeples and things like that. But for us, there's a lot of people that would never need a 6-player game, right? So if they can save money by getting the 4-player version, why not? So that's why we did this. So the comparison between the two, the 6-player actually has 110 more components than are in the 2 to 4-player. And that's basically six of, or 2 more of all the main pieces, crap load more cards, and a lot more meeples as well. This section we just added to our page today. And this was letting people know, we want to get past day 1 before we said this, but we've got some reveals coming. The reveals are some cool stuff we're going to do that enhances the game, but it doesn't fundamentally change the game. It's just cool stuff to talk about, quite frankly. And so it's obviously keep the conversation going. And we're excited to talk about them. And on, I believe, Tuesday is the 9th? Tuesday, yeah. Tuesday is when we're going to be talking about the first one. And they're cool. There might be a 4th reveal. We're still talking through something on a 4th, but for sure there's going to be 3 1 a week. In addition to that, we've got our Chronicles of Venus stories, which are going to start in the next 2 days. And these are just little mini stories that are about 250 words each that just talk about some of these people in the story. And what would it be like if you're a miner? Or what would it be like if, Bob, the engineer, in the air department was on duty when a chunk of satellite hit the station. Like, what would that day be like? So we got these little mini stories he did. There's absolutely zero value to them, quite frankly, other than just something to chat about. And they're cool stories, and there's stuff that we like to dream about. And anytime I see a thematic game and I play a thematic game, I always imagine myself in that environment, and I always imagine what life would be like in that story. And it goes back to when I was a kid and I play with my Star Wars figures. I'd be making up the stories as in my head while I was playing with these Star Wars figures. And I do the same thing with the games. And for us, we're going to share some of these stories. Maybe at some point we'll put it into expand it out and put it into a graphic novel. That'd be kind of cool. Not going to do that in this campaign, but we definitely will seed out some of the stories. And they tie into some of the artwork and some of the steps in our game. So there is some relevance there. Lots of how to play videos, both English and I think the other one is French. It is French. And preview vids. Preview vids are more videos where people are just straight up talking and explain how the game works. And then we have the review area where people add commentary, right? Where they're saying, okay, here's how the game works, but then here's what I thought about it. And I appreciate all the reviewers. I mean, there was a lot of great feedback from the reviewers. There's some things that we even tweaked based on reviewer feedback. And, it's a great community. It's very symbiotic, I find, the reviewer community and content creators in general with the publisher side. Quite frankly, I'm a content creator as well, right? With the Board Game Binge podcast, I'm constantly looking to create content there by doing interviews and so forth with different publishers. And so I totally respect and understand that dynamic and that relationship. Discord. If you haven't joined our Discord yet, please do. There's a button on our page. We're looking to add more people to our Discord page. We just made it public yesterday. Shame on me, I know. We got a handful of people in there, but we're looking to grow it. We use that page for anytime we're playing on Tabletop Simulator. We'll do the audio through Discord, so we can all talk to Discord while we play on Tabletop Simulator. That allows people to join in through their phones and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of Tabletop Simulator, this game is on Tabletop Simulator right now. You can play this game right now. You can play anywhere from 2 to 4 players. All the card drops and stuff like that are automated. The rule book is in there, so you can read it ahead of time. But it's cool, and everything's animated. So the volcanoes are smoking. The rocket in that is actually a physical ship, like spaceship that you're pulling your V-Nauts out of. It's cool. And you're actually floating up in the clouds of Venus, which is cool too. So take advantage of playing it. It's a great way to play with people that are remote as well. Absolutely love it. I'll quite frankly play a game with anybody that wants to. So DM me if you're interested in playing on Tabletop Simulator. DM me. We'll set up a play test. Love to play. Shipping. We are shipping friendly to all the. And that's still not added. Gosh. Okay. We'll make sure that gets added now. All the shipping that we do is what we call customs friendly shipping. So European Union, UK, Canada, USA, even Australia, New Zealand, you're not getting hit with duties when you get your game. We get it into the country and we cover off the duties before we then ship it to you, so you don't have to worry about that. Outside of those regions, then there could be some impact from duties. And that is our Kickstarter page. Any questions? Let's talk. I got about another 5 minutes before I cut this feed. So let's talk really quickly about Venus and the science behind going to Venus. This is going to be a long one, so let me take a sip of my water. All right. So the idea for this game started with literally an article I was reading on Flipboard. And Abin and I were doing one of our game nights where we're doing some design development, and we're playing, I think at the time we were playing Chai. It's one of these games that have like a central marketplace where you have a deck of cards and the cards kind of deal out. And I was telling Adam about the story, about how a lot of scientists around the world were saying, why are we focusing on Mars? We should be focusing on Venus. And there's a lot of science behind that. And there was a lot of probes that were actually sent in the 70s. The Russians actually did a lot of exploration probes they sent to Venus in the 70s. Most of them didn't make it. Very, very harsh. Any probe that actually made it to the surface was destroyed within like 3 minutes. The pressure is very high. It's the equivalent of, because the cloud covers are so thick, the surface level is equivalent to 4 times the depth of the Mariana Trench, which is the lowest point on Earth and the highest pressure, right? So literally anything would be squished like a pancake to be on the surface there. And the temperature is like 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit or something crazy like that. So things almost instantly melt and the pressure destroys things. So there's literally only like, I think 5 pictures from the surface of Venus in totality ever taken in the history of mankind. So it's a very harsh environment. But there was a lot of studies that were done when they were sending these probes where they're taking sensors and readings on the way down through the clouds. And what they found was Venus is actually the same size as Earth, roughly. It's almost the same size as Earth. So you wouldn't have any gravity difference. It'd be the same gravity that you have here. Going to Mars, it's 2/3 the size. A lot of people don't realize this. It's 2/3 the size of Earth. So you're going to have bone density loss if you are on Mars for any amount of time, which you would be because it takes 2 years between launch windows and 6 months to go back and forth. Because there's such a thick atmosphere on Venus, at 50 kilometers up, breathable air, if you can contain it in like a donut shape or a torus, would actually naturally float and would be able to hold a significant amount of weight. All right, so you could have almost like you see in Empire Strikes Back, like a cloud city that would literally float. You could have floating platforms in the clouds, about 50 kilometers up, and that's about 29 miles. And because it can do that, you still have enough cloud cover above you that it insulates you from the radiation from the sun. So you're going to have to not worry about, radiation poisoning and things like that, like you will on Mars, because Mars has got like the atmosphere is like, I think it's got like a 2% thickness of its atmosphere. So you're just getting pounded with radiation all the time unless you have some kind of radiation shielding. Venus also has the same atmospheric pressure as Earth does at sea level at that 50 kilometer level location. So that means you don't need a pressurized suit, right? So you wouldn't have to, you'd have to have protective clothing because the atmosphere is acidic and you need to have some kind of breathing apparatus because you can't breathe the air. But going outside, you wouldn't have to worry about pressurizing things, right? Why that's important is on Mars, if you spring a leak in your habitat, it's going to rapidly decompress. If you ever watched the movie The Martian, that actually happens to him too. He's got a section where he has his farm. It gets a little leak and the thing explodes, right? It's an airlock leak and the whole thing, it just rapidly decompresses and it just annihilates it. Venus, you wouldn't have to worry about that. If there was a leak, you could literally go and patch it up. It'd be a very slow, you'd have to detect, okay, where's the leak, and go and patch it up and make sure it's okay. So it's the most Earth-like place in the solar system is in the clouds of Venus and at the 50 kilometers up. The only caveat is you can never touch Terra. You can never be on the surface, right? You'll never be able to go down there. You'd have to stay floating. I forgot the temperature. The temperature is roughly between 0 and 50 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty much the same range you have here on Earth as well. So even the temperature would be comfortable at that height. You can never go to the surface. As of now, there's no water there, so you'd have to port in water or find ways to generate water using some of the chemicals there, maybe some chemicals you import in. I believe you could create breathable air by harvesting some of the stuff from the clouds there. So you could actually remix some of the chemicals and so forth to actually get what we need for our breathable air with the right machinery, of course. You could certainly navigate the planet. They say the clouds circle the planet about 4 times per 1 Earth day. So you would actually, if you just not tethered and just go with the flow of the clouds, which it would give you the least stress on your city, you would circle the planet 4 times in a day. So you'd have to figure out ways to kind of work out your circadian rhythms and things like that. But it's not nearly the kind of challenge that you would have as if you went to Mars. The one thing that Mars has going for it is it has an abundance of the chemicals you need to create rocket fuel to come back. Right, and that's what Elon Musk is working on and NASA is working on. Is they're working on equipment that they could ship to Mars. They've got a test unit there right now that's actually proof of concept that will pull CO2 and so forth from the air and create rocket fuel. So that's one thing that it's got going for it. You might be able to do something similar with Venus. I don't know. The second thing that Mars has is because you're actually on the ground, you can terraform the actual ground, right? You can take the rock, the sand, the dirt around you, and you can make stuff with it, right? You can mine for minerals and try to get iron and things out of the ground and make stuff with it. So definitely has that going for it. I think Venus, I mean, you could capture right now, they're working on right now for Earth is capturing asteroids and placing them into orbit. So you could do that for Venus, try to grab an asteroid that's nearby and kind of redirect it to orbit Venus and then use that for mining your minerals and materials. That's a possibility. In our game, we say that these mechs can withstand the pressure, right? There are these mechs, and when they get down to the surface, they can only stay down there for a certain amount of time, and a lot of people don't come back. It's very dangerous, but you're mining minerals actually from the surface. Maybe we can do that in the future at some point too. I don't know. We'll have to find out what kind of technology they can develop. For sure, they're talking about certain nanomaterials you would have to coat everything with that is exposed to the atmospheric air because it's acidic and it just constantly start eroding everything around you. So hence our game why we have the shields constantly eroding. So you would have to find ways to do that as well. But the science is solid and it got me really excited. And as Ab and I talked this through, we said, man, that would make a cool game. Right? We know there's terraforming Mars out there and there's other space games, but no one's really looking at Venus. Why don't we do a game around Venus? And it's about the clouds of Venus. Not terraforming, it's about establishing a city in Venus. So that was the inspiration behind this game and why we created it and why we're bringing it to you guys. I want to thank everyone for joining this live tonight. I know I went on for, holy smokes, almost 2 hours. Good gosh. My throat's getting sore. I'm talking so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to skip doing the live tomorrow just because we have, quite frankly, game night here with my local game group, and I'm going to go and celebrate the success of the campaign with them. And but I'll probably be back maybe on Friday, and we'll do another live Friday. But until then, guys, please send us your questions, DM me, join our Discord group, and hey,